Hi, this is Mike Brown, owner of Death Wish Coffee Company. Welcome to Fueled by Deathcast.
I love Jeff, but sweet and high. Whoop, there's so much drama, can't get by.
Death Wish Coffee presents Fueled by Deathcast, the world's strongest podcast. With your hosts, the incredible Jeff and the amazing D-Man.
Welcome, everybody. It's Fueled by Deathcast, and we are in our brand new studio and recording video for the first time.
Yeah, man, it's really next level in here. I really like what we've done with the place.
And it's only going to get better. This is episode 24. We're moving right along. As always, starting the show off, thanks to Brock Powell, BrockVox.com for all your voiceover needs, including the Kool-Aid Man. Go check him out over there. And like we started doing, talking about some of the podcasts we've been listening to, his podcast, Unpop Podcast, is so funny. Go check them out. They're on iTunes. They're everywhere podcasts are found. Really, really good one. Also, friends of the show, Unwarranted Advice. We actually shouted them out a couple shows ago. They have their first full-length episode up now on SoundCloud, on Facebook, and they give a nice shout-out to Death Wish Coffee and this podcast, so you can go check those guys out. Also, Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience. I mean, D-Man, you've been in this podcast, I think, since its inception.
Yeah, I started listening like around episode number 20.
Yeah.
And then went back and listened to it all because it was all hilarious and crazy. And it's definitely like fueled my way to becoming the podcaster that I am today. It gave me the passion to really pursue something that never really existed before. It's something that never was like so cool before Joe Rogan got on there and made it, awesome with his awesome guests. And I mean, he's really loose and off the cuff and really
Totally.
casual. I really, really enjoy that podcast.
If you haven't checked out his podcast, go check it out. And finally, some of our good friends just started a brand new podcast called Brave New Weed.
Guess what that's about?
Yeah, and it's actually really interesting. They talk to some of the luminaries of the field concerning medicinal marijuana and its effects and detriments, and it's very
Recreational
very
marijuana has the same effect, actually.
it's true, but it's a very interesting listen. So shout out to those guys too. I want to announce it right now. We're going on the road again.
Yeah.
We're taking the show on the road.
We're going to Nashville, man.
We're going to Nashville. This is pretty exciting. We're announcing it right now. Fueled by Deathcast will be part of the Walker Stalker Convention down in Nashville, June 3rd and 4th.
And we're going to be a big part of this. We're not only going to be there handing out some stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to be sampling out some cold brew. But what's really cool is that we get to moderate some really awesome panels. And on top of Walker Stalker talking Walking Dead. Here
Walking
we go.
Dead,
A
yeah.
Walking Dead panel that we're moderating. Close to my heart
Yeah,
is we're
you're so
moderating
excited.
Sons of Anarchy panel
Yes.
with some really awesome people, including Ron Perlman, Tommy Flanagan, and Ryan Hurst.
You did it, yeah.
Woo!
So we're doing a
I'm
Sons of
not
Anarchy
gonna, I'm not
panel.
gonna call them Clay, Opie, and Chibs.
And
so.
Chibs, yeah. So we will be moderating the Sons of Anarchy panel, as well as the Chad L. Coleman, Tyrese from The Walking Dead will be moderating his panel as well. So we're going to do a special podcast when we're down there. We're going to have a lot of fun. And if you are in the Nashville area, tickets are still available, so you can come see us.
Yeah, come see us.
Yeah, that's
Say hi. Give us a high five. We love it.
Secret code unlocked. Discount of death.
So this week, if you type in the word Twin Peaks, I know that's 2 words, but type it in as 1 word.
all one word.
You'll get 15% off of 2 packs for ground, whole bean, and 2 packs of K-Cups. So
Get 20 cups there. Yeah. Twin Peaks, TWINPEAKS. And that is because we are really excited for the return of that cult classic show coming on Showtime on this Sunday, May 21st. And our special guest might have a little bit of involvement. It's mysterious, but
yeah.
we talked to him later on in the episode, so we're really excited about that. So Twin Peaks for that discount.
Science!
This week in science, D-Man, we're staying on Earth, so we're not going to space to scare you.
Okay, good.
But this is really cool, and for anybody who's been following the science blogs this week, you probably have heard about this, but I couldn't not talk about this because it's that exciting. We recently found a 110 million year old nodosaur fossil. Now, a nodosaur is like an ankylosaur, the ones that have the spiny backs and the club for a tail.
You mean a fucking dragon?
Yes, a dragon. We found this fossil, and it's the best preserved fossil ever of its kind. And if you're watching this podcast in our brand new video segments, this is what it looks like. That's the head, and this is all fossilized. It's absolutely real. Yeah,
Shut
it's
up.
absolutely dragon.
That's a 110 million year old dragon.
They found this in 2011 in Alberta, Canada, and the excavators were puzzled as to what it was. And when they actually took it out of the rock, this preserved specimen from the snout to the hip is all intact. And then they found other pieces of it kind of broken off. But it is the most well-preserved we've ever found of a dinosaur.
What makes it different from the other preservations that we found?
We've never found something. Now, remember what petrification means. I mean, this isn't the actual dinosaur.
It's almost like a cast.
Right, exactly. And we found casts. We found jaw bones before, but we've never found a complete dinosaur. This is as complete of a dinosaur as we've ever found this way. And what's really interesting about this is that even the way that it was preserved, it looks like it was just walking around. Its neck is curved slightly, like it's just about to take a bite of something. And it's just...
You mean it wasn't panicking?
Right? It's incredible.
It was like, oh no, I'm going to die.
It would have reached 18 feet in length and almost 3,000 pounds when it was alive. And the remnants of the scales and the skin are completely preserved too. So, I mean, you can see the indentations of these of the scale, of the skin, and we can really get that good idea of what this dinosaur was all about, including its back ridges and its spines on its back, its armor plating. We always knew that these dinosaurs had this type of armor plating, but we've never been able to study it to this extent before, and that's what's really exciting. This is a completely new type of species of the nodosaur, actually, that we've had hints of.
Does it breathe fire?
Yes, it does. Not really. It doesn't have the clubbed tail like the ankylosaurs, but it does have 20-inch spikes on its back, and that was obviously so predators like T-Rexes and stuff couldn't eat it. So many precise factors led to this dinosaur being preserved the way it was. It died, it fell into a river, and then was, slightly decomposed into the sediment and then, washed into this mine, which is where we found it. If it was washed an extra 20 feet down the river, it would have been in the mountain that's there today, and we might never have found it because we never would have dug there. You know what I mean? If it had not washed far enough down in the river, maybe some scavengers might have come and just picked the bones clean, and the bones would have all dissipated, and we would have just found the bones.
So it's just in the perfect location. Location.
The perfect thing. And it's so incredible to be able to see this kind of specimen. And if you are in Canada, it's on display right now, which is really interesting. And they found another one very recently in Montana, same type of species, and they nicknamed it Zool. Because it reminds you of the dogs from Ghostbusters, because it is that crazy. I love it when we find stuff from our past, our way past, 110 million years old. And like I said, it looks like it was just walking around.
Let's keep it 110 million years in the past. Let's not clone this thing.
Yeah.
I don't want it hanging around. I don't even care if the meat's good. Just no.
It is pretty interesting.
What fuels you?
So this week, we got to talk to our first actor Brock we talked to, and he was a voice actor. This is our first, the guy who started out in theater, as we'll talk to David Dastmalchian later. And if you don't know his name, you definitely know his face. He's been in some iconic movies, but he had some really cool stuff to talk about. And one of the things that hit home with me this week, D-Man, was how he attacks being a character, not even just acting in a scene, but when he is a character and how he portrays that character, no matter how small. And one of his tenements is to be the hero, to make that character the hero of his own story.
Yeah, and this is something that we can practice in life too. It's not just an actor practice, and this is something that's near and dear to me, and actually we brought up Joe Rogan before, this is something that he talks about a lot, is to be the hero of your own story. So you're sitting around at home and you have a choice to either go out and see friends or go out on an adventure, or you could stay home and play video games and eat Cheetos, which is the easy thing to do, which is you don't have to worry about social anxieties. But you have to ask yourself, if you were in a movie, what would that character do? Mm-hmm. And it takes you outside of your own mind and really gives you a great third-person perspective on how you should be handling situations. And this can go for anybody. You know, if you are unhappy with life, if you're in the dumps, say your girlfriend broke up with you, you don't have a job, you're overweight, like all these things that are bugging you, wake up tomorrow. Think about it. Think about the movie starting at that moment.
That moment, the moment you wake up.
And start being a hero.
Yeah.
The greatest heroic stories are all Phoenix rising from the ashes type of stories. So
no hero is perfect.
Yeah,
no hero wakes up in the morning and has the best day ever.
You don't need to be prepared to be the hero of your own story. You just need to start acting like one.
It's the truth. And I think that is such a great tenement in life. And that's why I thought it was so interesting when David was talking about it, when he attacks a character. Like he's had some really iconic characters, but he has also had some very small characters when it comes to, a role with a lot of, actors and actresses in a movie. And yet he attacks every character like they're the hero. Doesn't matter what they are. They have this whole backstory in his brain. And that is what you should be in life, is you are the hero of your own story. You just have to get on that mentality, and that's tough to do.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, the easy thing to do is nothing.
Is to sit on your couch and eat Cheetos,
but in the end, it's not easy. Life then becomes very hard, and you become very unfulfilled. And that's where depression sets in. That's where frustration sets in. That's where you start going, why am I acting like this? Why am I doing this? Why am I making these decisions? Turn it around now. Think about it.
Totally. It's something to think about in everyday life, and just be the hero of your story.
Community shout out.
This week on the community shout out, we're going back to OG. This guy has been a supporter of Death Wish Coffee since Death Wish Coffee wasn't even Death Wish Coffee, I think.
I mean, he might as well be Death Wish Coffee Man.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking, of course, of Jason Heath. Jason has been a huge proponent of this community. In fact, he just reminded all of us, if you follow the official community page on Facebook, it just turned 1 year old. It's a whole year of an entire community getting together with a positive message and a love of this awesome company that we get to work for and podcast for.
Yeah, yep.
And I mean, Jason is constantly posting his Mugshot Mondays and funny memes. And I mean, if you go on over to our YouTube page, the Death Wish Coffee YouTube page, there's a pretty intense video of Jason doing a suspension on that.
I have a hard time watching that stuff. I don't know about you.
It's intense, and that's one of our first videos that we even put up on the YouTube page. That's how OG this OG is. So, mugs up and community shout out to Jason this week, because, when it comes to OG,
I mean, these are the people. These people
pillars.
are the reason why we're such a strong company, is because they are, like you said, the pillars of this community.
Exactly.
And he brings his own special spin and a special perspective on how the community runs. And people like that are very important to have around.
Totally. So, again, mugs up. This week, we wanted to do something fun. This is the segment where, obviously, we talk a little bit about the company, maybe a product. And for those of you out there who might not know this, before, when we started this podcast, we did a 0 episode. Now, maybe that'll see the light of day someday, but I hope it doesn't, because we probably sound ridiculous.
It's not gonna. It's gonna be in a deep, dark basement.
But we tried out a lot of these segments on that episode. It was to really get the feel of how we were writing this show. And one of the things we did, which I thought was a lot of fun, that we're resurrecting today, was, Dustin, you and I talked about funny ideas we had for merchandise for this company.
Yeah, like horrible merchandise ideas.
One of the things I love about Death Wish Coffee, and I know the community at large loves too, is we're not just about coffee. We provide you with clothes to wear and, stuff to drink your coffee
survival
out of.
Kits and brewing kits and chocolate.
Sunglasses
everything.
All sorts of fun stuff. And we have meetings at the company sometimes where we literally throw stuff on a whiteboard and see if it sticks. And then they come into two huge piles. One like, maybe these are good ideas, and one that these are the stupidest, dumbest ideas
Why
ever.
are the stupidest and dumbest ideas so cool, though?
Well,
let's celebrate them a little bit, Jeff.
one idea that I know I kicked around, and I guess it isn't that silly, but when you're talking about a coffee company, this is like, it's one of those collectible things that it's really kind of niche, is a belt buckle. I always thought it would be cool to do like a Death Wish coffee belt buckle. But again, it's like, how many of you out there are really going to spend a good chunk of change?
I feel like sometimes I want to make merchandise just so I can have it.
Right. Exactly. D-Man, I know you had a really funny one. And
Okay, so I'm going to get a quick elevator pitch, all right?
Okay.
So what's worse than brushing your teeth and then going to have a delicious cup of coffee and it being tainted by the awful taste of toothpaste? Well, Jeff, what if you had a toothpaste that was Death Wish flavored?
A highly caffeinated toothpaste,
The
D-Man?
most
Tell me
caffeinated, the most caffeinated toothpaste. So if you had a toothpaste that tasted like coffee, and then you were to go drink your coffee afterwards, there would be no friction there. It'd be great. Your morning would flow perfectly.
So maybe we'll talk to the FDA and the Dental Association of America. And
I have connections.
Oh, you do? That's right. So we can talk about that. Some other funny ideas that we've thrown across the board are Death Wish straws, because, why wouldn't you want to try?
What would that look like?
Yeah, I don't know, black and red, and like, I have no idea. Maybe
Stupid.
bendy.
That one's dumb.
Bendy. Zippo lighters.
That one's not bad, but
balloons.
I like that one.
I like balloons too. But what we're pleading to you, the community at large, let us know your funny ideas. Hit us up either on the Death Wish Coffee pages or, Jeff Wish Coffee on Twitter or Death Wish Dustin on Twitter. Hashtag it Fueled by Deathcast so we can see it. Let us know some really silly ideas.
I'm curious to see what everybody else is thinking. Maybe not even awful merch ideas. Maybe your great merch ideas are awful. So throw those too.
And we'll revisit this in a future episode and have some more fun with some silly merchandise ideas.
The Death Wish Death List.
This week, we lost a pretty iconic actor, Powers Booth. He was 68, and I read it says that he died of natural causes, but 68, I feel like, I don't feel like that. I don't want to die at 68 of natural causes. Like,
That's probably, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know how I feel about
Some
that.
scary stuff. But as you can see, he's he's been in a ton of things. The shop that we're featuring behind us actually is from Sin City. But he got his start on Broadway, actually, and then his first major film role was portraying Jim Jones.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, in the Guyana tragedy, the Jim Jones story. That was the one that everybody was like, oh, who is this Powers Booth? I got to get him for my movies. And he just started to just get all sorts of stuff. In fact, he made headlines that year because the SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, was on strike. And he was up for an Emmy. And it was his first major role, and it was his first Emmy, so he crossed the picket line. And there was a lot of friction, and he made some stuff about that. But he won, so he got to go on stage and get his Emmy, so good for him.
Yeah.
He became known as this really powerful character actor. He was in Red Dawn. He was in Southern Comfort, Extreme Prejudice. Also, Tombstone.
He was great. He was the bad guy in Tombstone.
Sudden Death. Nixon.
Wait, did he play a Mexican guy in Tombstone?
Yeah, ish. Yeah. He was, and again, he was also in Sin City. He even did some voice acting. He was in some of the Justice League movies as the villain Gorilla Grodd.
That makes sense. He's got a deep, powerful voice.
Yeah. He also did a lot of television. He was the vice president on 24. He was in Deadwood. He was the brothel owner, Cy. And he had a very mysterious role in the Avengers movie, the first Avengers movie, which actually turned into a very meaty role on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. television show. And unfortunately, that character was still doing some shady stuff on the show. So it's unfortunate that we have lost him this week. We also lost Brendan Duddy. He was 80 years old, and he was a businessman, but he was also known as a peacekeeper. He ran a fish and chip shop that also he sold beef burgers, and they were supplied by this company that was given to him by a van, and the van was driven by a guy named Martin McGuinness. Now, McGuinness would later go on to be the leader of the Provincial Irish Republican Army. That's the IRA.
Wow. Yeah.
And Frank Steele of the Secret Intelligence Service, or MI6, if you know the Mission Impossible movies or the James Bond movies, approached Duddy in the 70s to be an informant, but he initially turned him down. But then Duddy went on to go on to be actually the go-between between the official IRA and the provincial IRA in the 70s.
Yep.
So this fish and chip owner basically was the safe ground for these two warring factions of the IRA to really talk. And he was integral in keeping the peace. He actually got them to talk and surrender their guns.
Wow.
To the British government. And then he went on to be in talks between the IRA and the British government, sometimes even delivering messages directly from Margaret Thatcher at the time. Many people in the British Secret Service refer to him as the key, or like I said, the secret peacemaker. And the BBC actually made a documentary about him. It's very, very awesome, called The Secret Peacemaker in 2008. And before he died, he released all of his archives to the National University of Ireland. So all of his dealings and all that stuff, that's all historical record now.
I bet he was one of those reluctant heroes that was like, I don't really want to be a peacekeeper, but there needs to be one.
I mean, he was the guy that was talking to both sides that neither side wanted to shoot in the face.
Yeah.
You know, so it was like, it was pretty.
Just because he was selling fish and chips?
Yeah, just because he was that safe ground.
Wow, that's amazing.
Pretty incredible. Death wish you happy birthday, though, this week. Thursday, May 18th. Tina Fey, one of my favorites from SNL and 30 Rock. She's so funny. Friday, May 19th, Peter Mayhew, the iconic Chewbacca. He's going to be 73. On Sunday, May 21st, I pity the fool.
Oh, no. I was going to say that. You jerk. You took it away from me.
That does not wish Mr. T a happy birthday. He's going to be 65. And on Tuesday, May 23rd, Melissa McBride, the badass Carol from The Walking Dead, is going to be 52 years old.
I love her Rambo scene.
Yeah.
She goes
so cool.
Full Rambo.
So cool. One of the best sequences in that entire span of that show.
The best sequence. I'm sorry. I loved
so
it.
good.
And I love that she was this like unexpected hero. You know,
Yeah.
she's this middle-aged lady and she just goes full Rambo. Like they drew first blood kind of shit. You know, it was really good.
Oh, it's so good. So happy birthday to all of them.
Ooh, the roast.
Brand new bump, brand new segment. We tried this segment out actually, I think maybe once or twice before,
Yeah.
but now we got the incomparable Brock Powell behind us, so it's a real thing now. The roast is all about something that grinds our gears, usually D-Man's gears. But
I tend to have a bit of an anger issue, but
So-
we'll get through it by venting it here
by
to our listeners.
talking it out. So this week on the roast, what grinds your gears? What makes you angry this week, D-Man?
All right, so I've been noticing this. I mean, it started slow at first, but now it's everywhere I look, and it's these British actors playing American badasses in TV and movies to the point where you don't even see American actors playing badass American actors anymore. You know, you have The Walking Dead. The dude who plays Rick.
Andrew Lincoln.
And
British.
it's funny. You think they do such a good job, and then they end up on like Jay Leno or something. You're
Yeah.
like, I did not know this guy was British. And it's just, it keeps on going. The Jax Teller in Sons of Anarchy, that Charlie Hunnam.
Yep.
And he's in a bunch of movies where he plays this American, like, I'm going to be tough.
Thankfully, Charlie Hunnam is now playing King Arthur, so he's back to being a Brit playing
I
a
feel
Brit.
like he's played American tough guy roles so much that it seems out of character for him to be playing a British tough guy. I don't know. Maybe it's me.
So are you saying that do you think these people are taking roles away from America?
I'm not requesting anything. I'm just noticing that something is going on, and I think the reason is that we're lacking toughness in America. I don't think our dudes are tough enough. I think we're so wimpy now that we have to outsource our tough guy roles to dudes like Huge Act Man, Christian Bale, and Tom Hardy. And it keeps on going on and on. And now I'm watching American Gods. And
great. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
But the main character is very badass.
Yes.
Very tough.
Shadow Moon.
Very tough. And I'm watching, I bet this guy
Is British.
I bet this son of a bitch is British.
And he is.
And he is. God damn it. Every time, man.
So, do you think that a lot of people think that, the school of acting in Britain is a higher echelon than the school of acting in America? Because we have Hollywood, but they have the Royal Shakespearean Company, you know what I mean? So do you feel like these guys are just hands down more qualified to take these roles?
Okay, maybe it's the fact that our American tough guy roles have now gotten deeper. They're more fleshed out. They have more backstory.
It's not Rambo or John McClane
or Vin Diesel.
Right.
Anything. It's not right up the middle, shoot from the
Arnold
hip.
Schwarzenegger, yeah.
He wasn't American or British.
True.
That was a bad example.
Very
Jeff.
bad example.
And nor could he
different
play,
roast.
He couldn't even play an American guy. His accent was so thick.
It's true.
But I think it's just there's more to be done as an American tough guy role. There's more to it than just being a dude with a gruff voice saying cool lines. We're getting these very dramatic performances from like Sons of Anarchy and Walking Dead, where it's got to be more than just a dude with cool lines and a gruff voice.
Yeah,
and maybe you're right. Maybe it's just that the British actors are better schooled.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're obviously well schooled. They can do an American accent so well. It's
true.
So crazy.
Some of them, it's crazy.
I can't tell.
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
I mean,
You didn't even know.
I didn't even know he was British.
How could you not know?
I mean, I must have known he was British, but I mean, he does it so well.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh.
In The Prestige, though, from what I heard, that is closest to his actual accent. Which is a very British accent, like almost like sloppy British.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm going to get over it. And you bring up a good point that it's probably because the British actors are better actors.
Are just better equipped. Maybe we just have a bunch of pussy actors in America.
I don't know. Maybe it's...
Toughen up, American actors.
Seriously, grow a set.
Oh, man. Well, that was fun. We're going to take a short break like always and give you this week's D-Man update with some Death Wish Coffee news.
D-Man's Death Wish Update. Brought to you by Death Wish Coffee.
Oh boy, it's that time again. What do we got, D-Man?
My blood's boiling from the last segment. I don't know if I can do this with a smile on my face. Yes, I can. Well, who am I kidding? Okay, so it's Thursday, and Thursdays usually mean great deals are going on. Well, we're releasing some more sunglasses.
Yes.
Free with every purchase, and they're kind of a little bit redesigned from last year.
We got the circle logo on one side of it, which we didn't have before. And I got to say, I have a pair of all of the sunglasses. In fact, my wife was just laughing because we literally have just a whole table that's just nothing but random sunglasses that we grabbed from different Death Wish events and stuff. I think these are the best lenses that we've had. I don't know if it's a different company.
No, same company.
They're clearer. It's a little bit clearer, a little bit nicer, and they're free with any purchase today.
Yeah, so go on deathwishcoffee.com and get your purchase in, and you will get a pair of sunglasses. I'll tell you what, Jeff, sometimes when I run out of sunglasses, I just grab a handful of those and just throw them in my car and then find them when I need them.
It's really good, and they're great. They're great conversation starters, too. I love giving them away to people.
And they're great for events. We always hand them out at events. Anyways, we've got some more cool things coming.
Oh, boy.
And we've worked with these guys before, and it's a little company called Crosby and Taylor.
Yeah, they did the scoop.
Yep.
That Thomas Dragonetti made.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, the pewter scoop that we have. That was really awesome.
Yeah, and so we were so happy working with these guys, and they're such a good company, and we love working with American-based company. These guys are out of Oregon, but we're gonna do a pewter high quality refrigerator magnet with them.
You heard it, guys. In fact, it's funny. I just saw some of the people on the community page saying how they missed out on the first time that we did the magnets, the porcelain ones.
Yeah.
And how they would love to see if we did magnets again. So we're doing them.
And these are next level. Like I said, they're full pewter, except for obviously the magnet on the back.
Right.
But they look great. It's it's our standard logo.
Yeah.
And Thomas does a great job working with these guys, and these guys do a great job. So thanks again to Crosby and Taylor. You'll be seeing these soon. The order's put out. They're making them right now.
Oh, okay. So they're in production.
Yep.
So give us the normal amount of time, but we'll definitely let you know. The email, the podcast. Keep your ears and eyes open.
Yep.
Awesome. Any other secrets?
Maybe.
Oh boy. Boy.
I'm really excited about this one because we talked about it. I think it was 2 podcasts ago when I came back from SCA.
Yes.
And
the coffee convention that you went out to in Seattle.
Right. And we had talked with Clean Canteen out there, and they were showing us their new version of cold cups, and I was really impressed. And I brought it back to the team. Eric and I brought it back to the team, and we're like, hey, we think this is a great update from last year's cold cup. Let's run with this. And everybody was on board because they're so undoubtedly cooler than last year's. So it's happening. We're going to do a new cold cup designed, of course, by Thomas Dragonetti, but it's being made by Clean Canteen.
That's awesome.
And they're really high quality. The straw is a nice stainless steel straw. Instead of last year, we had a plastic straw that was in there. But it's a stainless steel straw with a silicone tip, so it's soft where you suck up your delicious juices through.
Awesome. Awesome.
But we're gonna roll this out, and we're gonna roll it out pretty soon. The warmer months are coming. We realize not everybody's gonna be drinking hot coffee all the time, and we do have a cold brew now. So now you can toss your cold brew in your cold cup and have a great time.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
I'm so stoked about this one.
a new cold cup. I love the last one, but I mean, Clean Canteen is one of my favorite companies.
Yeah.
And just to have one from them, I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Me too.
Awesome. So anything else? Can we talk about anything else?
Jeff, you always try to get
I
more
always
out
try
of
to
me.
just squeeze that Dustin juice
It is my
out.
job at this point to say, no, Jeff.
All right,
There
all
are
right.
no more secrets that I can share.
Well,
you have to tune in next week, Jeff.
As always, tune in next week, guys.
Cheers.
All right.
Do the lead in?
Yeah. And this is the part of the video that won't ever air on the podcast, but hi, all of the viewers out there. We always try to, I try to cut all these segments together, but
Why, are we live right now?
we're not live, but I mean,
Jesus.
I will cut this and release this. So, in a sense.
Innocence?
So before you set that up, I'm going to get a nice little visual just so people can see. I should have probably had this all set beforehand. Oop. Yeah, I guess I could do that. What the heck?
Just use that picture. There we go.
Yeah. There we go.
Good as gold.
Yeah. Okay.
Here we go.
See, a little bit of hiccups, but we're going to get better at this whole video thing, so.
I was made for the radio. Here we go.
Welcome back to the show.
This week, so exciting. We got to talk to actor Dave Dastmalchian.
And, I was excited to talk to him to begin with, but then he happened to be super awesome.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously enjoys what he does and is passionate about what he does. And we talk about how he broke into acting and then how we just hit the ground running on how he really started to get some really big roles. I mean, he was in Batman the Dark Knight. He was in Ant-Man.
So good.
He's in the upcoming Blade Runner.
He's in Twin Peaks. He's in a movie called Prisoners.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
he plays a seriously dark role in.
Yes, he does. And he even wrote a movie called Animals that he also stars in that's incredible. I mean, he has a huge list of accolades at this point, but I mean, everybody has to start somewhere, and we get to talk to him about that and talk to him about his process, and it's so cool, so cool. So mugs up and tuck in for an awesome conversation with David Dastmalchian.
Enjoy.
Let's start in the beginning. You started out acting, from what I know, in the theater, And I'm always curious to hear how people kind of got into the profession that they did. What was the antithesis that got you into acting to begin with?
You know, when I was a kid, I just was obsessed with movies and comic books and all things that I think, were spurned by the imagination, role-playing games and stuff like that. And playing make-believe was a big part of my childhood. And I remember my mom taking me to see a production of the play by Agatha Christie, The Mousetrap, which is a dark little play, murder mystery. And I just, the experience of sitting in the theater, and at the top of the play, the house is completely dark, and you hear this guy whistling Three Blind Mice, and then you hear this poor woman like screaming and being choked to death, and then the lights come up and the play begins, and I was hooked. And I think just like probably every other human that's ever graced this earth, my childhood was a mix of wonderful memories and some really difficult times. And I think my imagination got me through some of those difficult times. And my brother, who's 6 years older than I am, had played Captain Hook in at my Oak Park Elementary School in Kansas. They did a production of a musical once a year. And when my brother was in sixth grade, they did Peter Pan, and he played Captain Hook. And I'll never forget, like, the night of the show, like his costume laid out in my mom's room, and like that plastic hook that they had gotten, and him putting on the mustache and just being so in awe of it all. And when I was in sixth grade, they did Peter Pan again. And of course I was desperate to get to play Captain Hook, and I did. And I'd say that moment forward, the bug had bitten me. And growing up in Kansas, I found some really wonderful outlets for a lot of my interests, but there was some wonderful community theater where I grew up. So once in a while, I would get to participate in something there. And then when I got into high school, I was involved in lots of different things, trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to do. And I was worried that I wasn't going to get to go to college, because at that point, my mother and I, funds were definitely tight.
Uh-huh.
And I was a pretty adept football player, and I was getting, looked at by some pretty good Division II schools. So I was kind of thinking that I was going to go to play college football, and then I wanted to study English and theater, and at that point, the reality of working in film and television just didn't even seem like something worth like the entertaining of the imagination of. I thought, like, I would love to become like a high school drama teacher, and maybe that was going to be my path. And then I had some really incredible teachers who had both come from a professional background in the theater, had spent time in New York, and had, relocated to Kansas where they'd raised families. But I did a play my senior year of high school, and I did a one-man kind of performance for the National Forensics Society for their contest. And I did Peter Schaffer's Equus, and I did Eric Bogosian's Talk Radio as like one-man plays where I would form all of the characters. And the teacher came up to me and said, I really think you should consider doing this. And I think somebody of that stature saying something like that to me kind of shifted the paradigm in my mind of what the reality of my adult life could entail, and gave me the confidence. And they helped me set up auditions for some big training programs, one of which was DePaul University's theater school in Chicago. And I not only got accepted, but I got the scholarship that I would have needed to go to school. So I moved to Chicago, and I started a life in the theater, which, lasted for on and off a very long time, lots of other chapters in there. But I think that that's all what led to me ultimately getting to make a living as a professional actor.
That's awesome. And I've heard actors always talk the difference between being on stage and being in front of a camera. Where did that transition kind of happen for you? Like, where you kind of left the stage and then started acting in television and movies?
I was always then once that became the reality, then I wanted to train and become the best actor I could possibly be. And eventually my dream was to go to like Hollywood or to go find a way to work in film and television, And I had so many heroes and inspirations and the kinds of, dreams like so many of us who work in this field, I think have. But I was doing some I kind of left acting for a bit to get my life put back together. I had a couple of setbacks in my early 20s and I had to figure some things out about life. And then I was back on my feet and I was kind of making my way into because of the kindness of friends who knew me from college were putting me into some wonderful theater, like off loop theater in Chicago. And I just, that quickly escalated. And a casting director who had known me from when I'd first shown up in Chicago, brought me into audition for a television commercial. And I got it. And it was for a cell phone commercial, Singular Wireless. They were doing these drop call commercials where I was calling my father-in-law and he was unable to hear me because the call dropped, but I thought he was like totally like awkward conversation because my joke had bombed. So that it's a really short spot, but I flew to New York. The director of the commercial was at that time, I didn't know that it was who he had made one of my favorite films at that point, a documentary called American Movie, a director named Chris Smith, and he
Great documentary.
oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. He's brilliant. And he and I just got on like gangbusters. We ended up becoming very close, but over the course of shooting that commercial, and even in the process of auditioning for that commercial, I learned very quickly, for me, the mechanism by which I could make the transition from stage acting to film and TV acting. And this is just what works for me. It's totally different for every actor, but it's all the same work. Everything is basically almost identically the same, the way that I would to do perform a role. The difference is that the camera is the audience, so it just strictly technically speaking changes the dynamics of everything. So if I'm doing the Glass Menagerie in a theater where there's 100 or 200 people, I have to be cognizant of the fact that I need the person who's about 60 yards away from me to experience this story that I'm trying to tell. And when I'm doing something in front of the camera, I just imagine that audience member. I mean, that's the starting place that I begin from, is that they're literally just inches or a few feet away from me, and it changes the way that I use my face, my body, my mouth, my voice. But aside from that, it's pretty much it's the same. There's different muscles that are utilized, but for me, with film and television acting, the critical skills involved require you to be able to hit authentic emotional or psychological manipulations with your face and your body and your voice, so that the audience believes that you're experiencing what it is that you're supposed to be experiencing, so that they can suspend their disbelief. And you do the same thing in the theater and in film and television. You do a take, and then they can adjust the camera, and you do the take again, and you adjust the camera, and you do the take again, and you can take input from the director or the feel the actor that you're working with, see how that's going. Same thing happens on stage. I feel like every night, it's never the exact same performance, but you're definitely using all the skills that you've got at your disposal to try and recreate and hit all those notes throughout the scenes the way that you did the night before.
That's so interesting.
So for me, the transition went pretty smoothly. I'd say it felt great. I loved being on set, and then that commercial afforded me the luxury of being able to just become a full-time actor. And I say full-time meaning like it was lean. I wasn't like rich, but I was able to then not have to keep the day jobs that I was working at that point. This was in Chicago in 2007, and then I got a chance to audition for The Dark Knight, which came from Chicago, and the casting director's assistant actually recognized me from that singular commercial.
Awesome.
And he brought me in to meet the casting director, and I was auditioning for one of the bank robbers that are in the opening heist sequence of the film, the clowns. And fortunately for me, this casting director seemed to think that I was a good fit to play a paranoid schizophrenic who would be a thug of the Joker. So I never actually read the scenes that I would be doing. I never even really knew what I was going to be doing until I went to shoot. But I got that role, and then to me that was the thing that I'd been waiting for, this ticket that I needed to go to the film and television world. I wanted a credit, to legitimize myself and be able to show up and be like, okay, this is. And that was the bridge I needed.
And that's a hell of a credit, because anybody who's seen The Dark Knight remembers the scene that you were in. I mean, it's one of the most iconic scenes when Harvey Dent is yelling in your face and Batman shows up. It's like a dream come true. And you are a comic book fan.
Big comic book fan. Yes, I'm sitting in my desk right now as I'm talking to you, absently feeling embarrassed that like my desk is such a mess. I have to clean it because it's covered with comics right now.
That's awesome. That's the best
You're
type
in
of
good
desk.
company, man.
Yeah, that's the best.
I have to ask: do you take that as an insult when somebody's like, "Hey, you'd make a good paranoid schizophrenic"?
No, I think it's wonderful. I think that it's interesting. I joke around and I say, like, oh, should I be offended? But I think that what I strive to do, and I think the people that have hired me have attempted to do with the stories that they're telling, is to skew as far from possible from the general and get to the specific. So if we're not interested in just creating a cackling, mustache twirling, villain like we've seen, in my opinion, it explains the failed major comic book film and television outings of the last 10 years, and it explains the successful ones of the last 10 years.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
That's not to say that a comic book film has to be done as seriously or as dramatically as, say, like The Dark Knight was. That's not what I'm saying at all. It means even in something that might be more light or more bright with color or humor, that you still want to approach these characters with something really specific. And I feel like I've been very, 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 very lucky. I'm grateful that I have the skills that I have as an actor and the passion that I have to work really hard at the stuff that I love. But I've been in the right place at the right time a number of times, and people who have, an immense amount of talent as directors, I'm so fortunate, have wanted me to play these complicated roles. And I've never spoken to one of these directors who's hired me to play a role, like my character in The Dark Knight, or my character in Prisoners, or my character on any of the number of, shows or films that I've done, who have wanted anything other than somebody fully fleshed out who in their mind, the character's mind, is, if not the hero of their story, definitely a quote unquote, you could look at as like a victim. And I feel that way about Thomas Schiff in The Dark Knight. I feel if I was to step outside of him and look at him objectively, I could say that I felt really bad for that guy, because I feel like he had an illness, and that was exploited by somebody, stronger and more manipulative than he could ever imagine. And I think that makes for more interesting storytelling. And I think in the world that we live in right now, we see millions of people, got the wool pulled over their eyes by a corrupt and evil politician in the last year. And I think that it's so easy for me to get on social media and go, well, these are just racist, misogynistic idiots. But I don't think that's true. I think these are people who put their trust in we see it every day, and not just in politics. We see it in every facet of our lives, at home, with our families. But I think that that's real. That's interesting, and that's stuff that people are going to want to, sit and watch.
It's totally true. And you said how you're lucky being able to portray the characters you've been able to portray. And I just want to say, I feel we as an audience are lucky to have actor like you who takes that upon himself to really, you know, immerse himself in a character like that. And kind of on that, another iconic character that you've played in recent years is Kurt from the Ant-Man movie. And you get to reprise that role in the sequel, The Ant-Man and the Wasp, which I believe comes out next year.
Yes.
How is that for an actor? Because you're not only getting back in the headspace of that character again, but you do a very impressive Russian accent for that character as well. So is that a different kind of process to kind of get back to that character?
Oh, thank you, my friend. This
Yay!
I'll be for the next couple of weeks probably spending a lot of time around house, like we'll be speaking in voice of Kurt and watching a lot of Elvis Presley films because he is the greatest human ever walked Earth. So thank you for saying that.
That's so good.
Thank you for saying that. That was amazing.
I love getting to play Kurt, but that experience is so unique in my kind of like canon of work that I've done. I was so honored and thrilled that the people that made that film wanted to include me, especially the tonally. That's not a character that I had done before. And sometimes when it comes to like Hollywood. It's very easy for you to be, pitched, I think, to casting directors and directors and filmmakers and studios kind of by what people would consider your core strengths. So
yeah, I feel like it kind of stepped outside of your typecast.
Absolutely. So I have a lot of gratitude for a lot of people for that opportunity. You know, Sarah Finn, who's the casting director of all the Marvel stuff. I mean, she has such an awesome job and she's so awesome at it. And her whole team of casting associates and assistants at her office. They're so awesome, but I don't know why they did, but they let me come in and read. I just read for them first. You know, I came in and it's just you and the casting director and a couple of her assistants. And I came, balls to the wall, man. I wore like my polyester pants and I had my shirt that I thought was very Kurt. And I, at that point I had a beard because I thought maybe he would have like a scruffier beard, and had my hair done up and a gold chain. And they thought they liked it enough that they brought me back in to read for the director at that time, who was Edgar Wright. And Edgar had just recently seen me in Prisoners. And he also had been hearing about an indie that I made that had just played at South by Southwest called Animals. So he was kind and he was intrigued and he allowed me to do my Kurt, and he seemed to really respond to it. So then he brought me in front of basically the studio and the star at that point, Paul Rudd. And fortunately, again, you do this thing called a test where they bring you in a room with the actor, and at that point, Pena had already been cast as well. So we were just improvising and doing the audition, and Paul liked me, and so there's so many people, who I fortunately passed the test, and the way that that film worked, and as far as I understand, a lot of the Marvel filmmaking magic works is that they have a script that they love and they go into making the script, but each day they really love when their actors are creating on the spot and people are coming up with ideas on the spot. So those guys did so much improvisation, and I was just trying to keep up with them and throw my little jokes back. And then obviously that's no secret that film fell apart for a second, and the director left, and there was some public question as to what's going to happen with this film. Yeah. And then Peyton Reed, wizard and amazing human that he is, got this job, and he came into what I can only imagine was such a tough job to jump in and have to get to direct a film that someone else had been attached to for a long time. And he's such an awesome freaking director and such an awesome guy. And he wanted to keep me around as well, so he had the opportunity. I mean, I was a disposable commodity at that point, so they were still changing things up, and so luckily for me, he wanted to keep me around, and now we'll get ready to dive in here shortly, and I can't wait. I know I haven't seen a script yet, but he's kind of told me about what's going to be happening in the film, and it's he's going to be so awesome.
I can't wait
Stop.
to.
I'm getting pumped.
I loved the first Ant-Man, and in fact, I've said to multiple people that you three, Pena, you, and T.I. as like the crew did such a good job almost stealing the movie from Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas that I would love if, down the road they do like just a heist comedy spin-off with just the three of you where you guys can just get into like some antics trying to like rob a bank or something. I think that'd be a great movie.
Oh man, I love it. I love that. I would love that. Yeah, and it's cool because you think of Paul Rudd. I mean, he's the guy that usually would be there being the comic relief in the film guy, and he's the hero, and he does it so well. He's such like a he really embodies this this kind of reluctant hero that goes on this journey in Ant-Man, and he's just poised in such a different way than we've seen him before. So I was honored that I get to be in these scenes with this comic legend who is playing the hero now, and I get to be throwing jokes around. It was really awesome.
That's so cool. So moving forward a little bit and talking about some of the stuff that you have got coming up, like Ant-Man and the Wasp, I have to ask, because it's premiering this week and we're so excited about it. You are involved in the brand new Twin Peaks.
My name is on the cast list, isn't it?
It is on the cast list. So
yes.
you have some sort of involvement.
I do.
Did you kill Laura Palmer?
That's
Is it your fault? Did you kill Laura Palmer?
That's and I think as much as I'm allowed to say is that I think everyone should definitely get their get their Death Wish coffee brewed, or their and their donuts and their cherry pie, and queue it up this weekend. And I'm really honored to be a part of that. Yeah.
It's so legendary, man.
I'm so stoked for you because you have that coming up. You have Ant-Man and the Wasp, but you are also rumored to be attached to the new Blade Runner. I don't know how much you can talk about
awesome
that, but
I think that's such an awesome rumor, and that I can confirm that's
yes.
real. That
Yes.
is absolutely real. I actually worked on that film. It's been a while now. We shot my stuff in the summer of last year in Budapest, Hungary.
Wow.
And the man who is the visionary filmmaker that is making that film, Denis Villeneuve, is one of, I think, the greatest filmmakers of our time. And I think that he is he's a living legend, and I'm so fucking lucky to be a part of his vision for this film.
So
and
cool.
I can't wait. I can't wait for people to see it. I saw they released a trailer last week that is so gorgeous.
Oh my God, it gave me chills.
Yeah. Me too. I mean, I obviously haven't seen a frame of anything, unless I have to go to ADR, and it's the reality of what I do is also such that, like, I've never been a part of a film from The Dark Knight to Prisoners to anything except for the things that I've written and produced myself, where I don't know when you finally go to the movie theater and actually see it if you'll see me, because that's the nature of films and editing, that things can be wonderful on the page and they can be wonderful in shooting, and then they go to edit them and they change. So for me, I live in a place of gratitude and joy in the work that I get to do. So the work that I got to do on set was such a joy. It was such an incredible experience, and I hope and pray that it makes it to the end, to the final cut. But if it doesn't, I got to say that being back in the ring with Denis was, oh man, it's such a dream. He's such a dream.
That's so cool.
Do you actively pursue these comic book / sci-fi roles?
No, I mean, actively in my, well, this sounds like I'm being silly, but I actually mean it. Like actively in my mind, in my intentions, I think in the places where I choose to put my energy. And like the audition for Ant-Man just came, out of blue. My agent at the time, I'm sure, submitted my name along with, there was every other actor probably in town trying to audition for every film that comes into town. And but I definitely I feel that I've spent a lifetime, putting energy and intention behind the kinds of stories that I want to tell. But the only thing that I have control over, like let's say something comes up on deadline or something, you say, oh my God, Denis Villeneuve is going to direct, the new, they're going to do a Joker origin story. And I would just be, clamoring, you can email your agent and go, oh, can you please submit me for that? But they do that anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
your agents, if they're doing their job, are submitting you anyway. So I found there's very little, and I learned that an interesting lesson along the process of Blade Runner, because once Blade Runner was announced, I definitely tried everything up my sleeve to see if I could get considered for that film.
Awesome.
My agents, I bugged them to email the casting director, and it was just, I learned through that it wasn't what did it. Like I didn't get, none of that bore any fruit. What ultimately did it was just Denis having read the script and saying, oh, this part right here is for David. And then when I got, offered that role, that's how that happened. So I can chase things all day, like hounding my agents, but for me, that process never worked. So what I do is with my energy, I keep invested in, reading the things that I love and that inspire me, which a lot of the time includes comics, but not just comics. I love lots of other stuff. The kinds of stories that I love, the kind of movies that I love, I bury myself in that. And then I make my own projects and I create my own opportunities. So, in 2013, we made a film called Animals that I'm incredibly proud of, which is, out and available to the world. The director of that film, Colin Shifley, who's also one of my best friends, and I teamed up again last year, and we made a new film called All Creatures Here Below. We're thinking about calling it All Creatures, and that stars Karen Gillan and an incredible cast of actors. And that's how we've gone about creating our own opportunities. And I've just got a new film called Hide Your Eyes that we're going to be shooting this year that I wrote. And so that's a long answer to your question, but
That's so exciting, though.
yes, I do put a lot of energy into it. I think not in the way that actors who are coming to Hollywood think that you do it.
Right.
It's definitely a kind of pounding the pavement, but it's generally more internal in my mind and making my own.
You think maybe it has something to do with that you're excited and passionate about it, and that's recognized?
I think so. I hope so. I feel like it definitely is an ace in my sleeve when I happen to get on an elevator with Kevin Feige at Disney when we're doing press, and I am kind of like terrified and in awe and like, hello, nice to meet you. And by the way, 5 seconds later, he and I are just at the races talking about comics and the things that we know and that we have in common. And I, was like, I can not just hold my own, but for people that share a similar passion for these kind of stories, find a common ground of engagement. And I think that's useful and helpful. And the same with the kind of films that I love, the kind of storytelling that I love, because I also am deeply in love with art house independent film that poses completely different kinds of questions than, say, a superhero film might. And I think that they're both absolutely just as important and just as healthy and just as necessary to audiences.
Totally.
I think the only thing that isn't necessary is the garbage that is general and non-specific, and that I'm not saying that if you're going to go make a Fantastic Four movie that you have to have like some deep social message. That's not at all what I'm saying, but I do think that you have to honor
Right.
the stories from which
Totally.
these came, and your performance and the way you direct a film and the way that you tell a story. You have to honor that history and these incredible characters. These are our Greek, myths that we have in the 20th and 21st century. This is our Greek mythology,
Oh my God, totally. Finally, the question we ask every guest on this show, and pertaining to you, you're going out there, you're actively pursuing these roles, and the roles that you get, you jump headfirst in, and you give it your all to do it. And you're writing movies, you're also acting in movies. What fuels you to keep getting out there and to keep pushing yourself every day to keep doing this?
Coffee.
That's the easy answer.
Two things. The technician in me, like the craftsman in me, the worker in me, is constantly driven to want to create and support the best life possible for my family. I have a wife who runs her own business that she's very passionate about as well, and we have a son, and we're about to have a little girl coming.
Congrats on that.
Mazel tov. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that's happening within the matter of days and weeks. And
wow.
So there's that is a great deal of gasoline in the engine when I wake up and I look at this family that I love, and I want to provide the best for them, and I also want to show my kids that you can pursue and follow the dreams of things that you love. You just have to work your fucking ass off at it every day. So I want them to see that. And the other thing is that I and this goes back to what I said earlier about whether it's a comic book hero movie, whether it's a great horror film, whether it is an straight up Gus Van Sant art house independent to the extreme film, the important thing to me about telling stories and why I love doing it is because I think that they remind people that they're not alone. And I think one of the darkest times that I've had in this life and being on this earth have come from the times that I've kind of been tricked into believing that I was alone. And I think that I will, to the end of my days, be kind of fascinated with this existential ideas that I wrestle with. And I think telling great stories and doing it in the best way you can possibly do it, no matter what the genre or format, theater or whatever, is reminding people they're not alone. So that's something that drives me,
That's excellent, and that's really inspiring to hear from someone in your stature as well.
Thanks.
Finally, where can people find you if they want to follow all things David? Where can they find you and kind of follow you?
At Dastmalchian.
Mm-hmm.
So my last name, I believe, that's my Twitter, and I have a Facebook page that I post on regularly, which is just my name, David Dastmalchian. And then I'm sorry, somebody rang my doorbell. Oh, hi. How are you? You have a delivery. That's so wonderful. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, hey, good, man. You're getting presents. It's all good.
Well, I hope it's more coffee.
Wow. Must be for my wife.
It's always for the
Emily?
wife.
What's for David? It's for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Yes, where do I sign? Here?
Here in the X, yeah.
Okay. Great. Wow. So, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, I got it.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow.
All right. Presents and everything.
Is this for you guys?
I don't know. Is it?
Is it? That'd be crazy.
It's 24 roses.
Aw.
White roses.
Then it's definitely from Dustin and I.
I'm so confused and interested. All right, now you guys we're going to do this live.
Okay.
Not live.
But recorded, sure.
We're going to do this.
Okay.
I'm awfully glad I came downstairs because I heard the doorbell ring when I was answering your question, and I didn't. This is fascinating.
So you got a bunch of roses.
Oh, it's really beautiful. It's kind of personal, so I probably won't talk about it on
Okay.
on this show. But oh man, that made my tears well up. It's a really dear gift from. I'm friends with my friends Elon and Molly. They sent me some flowers because I recently, and I know you guys and I emailed about this. I recently lost a very close friend named James, and he actually owned the comic shop in Kansas City that I grew up going to, and he lost his life tragically this past week in Kansas City in a robbery at his store, and so that's what these flowers are for. That's so sweet.
That is so sweet.
Nice.
Love these guys. Yeah. They're really, they're wonderful people.
Shout out to them.
Yes, shout out Molly C. Quinn. She's an amazing actress. She's been on tons of stuff. She was she's a friend of mine through, and so is Elon, her boyfriend. Elon has been making The Bachelor now for I don't know how many seasons, and they're about to release their new season.
Yeah.
Anyway, Molly and Elon are friends that I made through my friendship with James Gunn, who is an incredible human being, and he's a kind of a magnet for incredible people, except for me. But he has a really great circle of friends. Anyway, I met them through James, and they're really great people.
Well,
so.
That's so nice of them to do that.
Considering that we were just talking about how much good storytelling reminds people they're not alone in their suffering and in their mourning, I think receiving this gift was actually pretty fitting.
Pretty poignant.
Yeah.
Really great. And I'm kind of honored that we got to be a little part of that. That was really nice.
Thanks for you guys wanting to talk to me today. I'm honored, and I hope the listeners enjoy it. And
thank you so much, man.
Yeah, of course. You guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll do it again sometime.
Okay, you too.
You too, man. Cheers.
This has been Fueled by Deathcast, a Death Wish Coffee Company podcast production. Thanks for listening.